Welcome, everybody. So, this is the first episode of the FikaWorks podcast. We're experimenting with a new format, with a new way of sharing content, and because a lot of us were involved in community, in a lot of type of events, meetups, conferences, we wanted as well to try this new format of going into a podcast and discussing topics which are relevant for everybody who's into freelancing, who's into technology, cloud, but also soft skills and stuff related to how freelancing works and what is important. So for this first episode, we invited a lot of the members which are part of FikaWorks, and we want to discuss about how we actually operate, what we are, or how did we came up with this new way of running a business inspired by community, and what we discovered in those two years since we started to operate and to work together as some sort of company. Um, we'll have time as well for questions from your side. And we're gonna have as well an audio podcast which will be promoted in the future on our website and blog. So without further information, we can introduce you the people who are today into our call, and we can start from there. So Piotr, can you help me and put everybody in the spotlight one by one? Okay, so this is part of FikaWorks, and we have as well two external guests who will help us host this first event. And probably it's better to allow them to introduce themselves. So Andrea, you have the mic.
Hey, hello everyone. My name is Andrea. I'm Italian, as you can probably guess from the accent. And recently moved to the Netherlands and got to know this nice bunch of folks from FikaWorks by, like lurking around their Slack channel. Very happy to be here tonight, first of all. I am based in the Netherlands. As I was saying, I've been sort of like freelancing on the side of full-time, but, never went fully into freelance until next week, basically. And I'm very curious to hear a little bit more about FikaWorks, about how it's organized and so on. So yeah, I have plenty of questions, but of course we also expect plenty of questions from the answer. The other person that will join me is...
Yes, hi, it's Paweł. I'm Polish. I live in Poland, and I'm also very interested in terms of cloud native and actually the as a new approach, collective approach to just getting the projects and organizing stuff. Yes, around that one. Yeah. So we can go next for next person right now.
Valentin, can you go next?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Valentin. I'm originally Romanian. I worked as a contractor and consultant for 7 years now. I'm really into the consulting contracting. I'm specializing in DevOps, and I think this with Fika it's a great opportunity to redefine the model and how we operate. So I'm really looking forward to this discussion tonight.
Piotr Perzina, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Pete. It's better to call me Pete because you have two here. I'm also from Poland, but I live in Netherlands, where I enjoy living over there. I really enjoy being in Fika. I'm quite new here. Recently, I joined here, and yeah, I'm been in consulting for a while now, trying new approach. Let's see.
Sudesh, can you go next?
Yeah, sure. Maybe you can zoom on me. I still see Piotr in the main box. Don't know if you can change that. But in the meantime, I can start to introduce myself. So hi, I'm Sudesh. I'm actually from the Netherlands, unlike most of the people here. I've been a freelancer for the last 5 years, and I joined Fika a few months ago because I really like the model and also being part of a community of cloud specialists. I think it's a very interesting field where we are working in right now, and I think how we can also collaborate together when we compare our way of working with other types of organizations. That is something that really stands out, and I think will when you have heard us after this discussion. So really looking forward to this event.
Aljin, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Elgin. I think I'm one of the newest hires, maybe, here at FikaWorks.
We don't have anybody hired. We don't
I
have
mean, one
anybody
of the
hired.
newest members, sorry, not hires. I'm my background is I used to do a lot of software engineering. I was in touch with the whole DevOps role from the beginning of time, a long, long, long time ago. If I remember correctly, it was around Kubernetes 0.10 or something. So a very, very long time ago. And I've been in the kind of DevOps space for a long time, but often through consulting companies and all these things. And yeah, I wanted to start freelancing. I think I met most or some of the people here in FikaWorks, including the founders, in my first freelancing career. I think that was around 3 years ago. But for some reason, I joined a startup, and it was fun while it lasted. But given all the advantages of freelancing, I decided to kind of give it a try again, and that's how I landed with the guys here at FikaWorks. And I think one of the biggest things that I find nice is that you have a community of people where you can share your knowledge or ask if they have something that they can share, or if you're running against a problem, that you have a community to kind of fall onto, and that's very nice. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to kind of how things grow, and yeah, how this beautiful podcast will roll out, I guess.
Cool. Seb, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah, sure. Hello, I'm Sebastian. I'm, like many of us here, Polish as well, but I've been in the Netherlands since I think 2009. What brought me here is university. I actually studied with Sudash and one of the other Fika guys called Alex. So I knew some of the Fika members before I joined, which was a few months ago. I'm incubating still, but some of my ex-colleagues who I respect as well from work also joined, and I started freelancing about around March last year, and this is, although it's pretty fast, I think this is the next good step to join a bigger group, not to, let's say, fly solo, but be under one banner and share knowledge and opportunities. I think that's a very good idea. That's about it.
I think we have as well Marek and Piotr who are left.
Okay, so let me go. Hey, so I'm Marek. I'm living in Poland, in Olsztyn, the place where there is 1,000 lakes and beautiful forests. And I joined FikaWorks a few months ago, and I was happy to join one of our meetings in Netherlands. And I believe that we are sharing the same value. That's why I'm here. And I love the idea that as a collective, we can share the knowledge, which is very important for for us, actually, because it's one of the values we believe in. And my background is mostly software engineering as a consultant, like all the types of job. And I'm mostly I'm taking care of the clouds and automatization. Thanks. Piotr, your turn.
Hi, I'm Piotr. I used to work as a DevOps cloud native consultant for the last over 10 years. I was also owning my own small consulting company with over 20 people in its peak. So I know also how to run the business from the owner perspective of a small consultancy. But at Fika, I'm trying to learn, how this model is different than, being individual freelancer and business owner. I think it's something in the middle. And I hope it will be like the most optimal way of, spending my career and fitting better into my personal needs than being just an individual freelancer or driving my own business. So I hope it will be something in the middle, and but time will tell. So far it's only 8 months, so it works pretty well, but we'll see with time.
Yeah, I started the introduction of the podcast, but I didn't properly introduce myself. So I'm Cătălin. I'm together with 3 other guys. I'm one of the founders, if you can call it founders, of FikaWorks. Living in the Netherlands, originally from Romania. And yeah, I was busy with consultancy for the last 5-6 years, like most of the people, via other companies as well. And I did a lot of community work, meetups, conferences, and it's something I like to do, and I try to take best practices from that and into the way we work and operate, and it's something we want to share with you as well today. I think this is it.
Nice. I can get started if you want. So right now I just have the YouTube stream open here, and I'm having a look a little bit, and I just noticed in the description this sentence that I find very, very, very interesting. It says, around 2 years ago we started to build a community-driven company, and these last 3 words really stuck in my mind. What is FikaWorks, and what is for you like a community-driven company? What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, so we started around 2 years ago, and everybody, as you learn from the introduction, are already freelancers, or they want to look into switching to freelancing. So I was also in that position and freelancing for some time, and then I got an invitation from Etienne Tremel. He's also one of the guys who helped me to start it. That he's meeting some other freelancers that he's working with, and they want to discuss about trying to build a cooperative, like a common brand. And we discussed about trying to join and stop working alone as a freelancer. What I realized from the beginning, that is you deliver some projects and then you run into other projects, kind of like doing like one-man army show. And this is something which is different compared to joining a company and working as an internal employee, where you have a team, you have a manager, you're kind of like linked into an organigram of whatever the company is doing. For freelancers, it's different. So you do your stuff, and then you move to the next project, and then you move to the next project, and at the end of the day, you're more or less alone in terms of team, in terms of how you ping pong ideas on taking decision on the life of the project. And we discussed, and this is something that Etienne already discussed in the past with Jason, was Jason Smith. He was also one of the starting members of the cooperative. And during that dinner, kind of like everybody was in the same direction. Okay, can we try to create some sort of company, but not really like a company, and more work like a community? Like everybody has some strong points. Everybody is bringing something on the table, some technical skills. Everybody has some network of people they know to get contracts, to work together and just act as some sort of team, but very loosely coupled and without people hierarchy and managers and people telling you what to do, and without needing to report to anybody. Just try to work like grown-ups together and enjoy it and act as a team. And we basically took it from there. So we started with 3-4 people. It was me, Etienne, Tremel, and it was Carlos Leon as well interested in this. And then we had like a weekend in Switzerland. We come up with the idea to start a blog post and then try to see if we can actually work together and become. Everybody was still independent on his own project. To try to kind of act under that brand. We called it first the Cloud Natives. And we started a blog, but then we switch quickly to this new name, FikaWorks, which is not necessarily linked to any technology. We try to avoid to be stuck to technology. And we got Hamish as well online. We were 4 people, and then it slowly kind of started to grow, and we got inspiration from a Swedish company which is doing agile work called Crisp. And I'll put the links to this in the description. And they were doing this kind of like open source type of company where they put all their processes online in a Git repository, and they try to work very independent on each other, but still work together. And we kind of like got inspired from that and tried to emulate that and act as some sort of open source project, but as an umbrella of a company, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, indeed. I was about to say it reminds me a lot of, like how the open source governance like works, right? I mean, me and you, we have a problem that we want to solve. We try to start like a project together. We get more people involved. Actually, not all the people involved in an open source project work for the same company. Everybody gives its own contribution. Somebody's more, like maybe more has like better programming skills. Another person has more like CI/CD, DevOps, whatever. But the idea is that to an open source project, like if I understood correctly, in FikaWorks was the same. Everybody contributes for what he likes and what he likes to do and what he is good at doing, right? So yeah, thank you very much. It's a very interesting point of view. It's also a very interesting initiative, of course. I honestly haven't heard about these kind of like cooperatives before, so it's very nice to get to know people that started FikaWorks and also how it all started, right? Because that's also the interesting thing. I have another question in case somebody else also from the cooperative would like to answer. But what are the main differences between like you and a classic software consultancy? Maybe Piotr, you can ask that. You told just a minute ago that you used to have like a consultancy company. So what is the main difference that you noticed before between like a classic consultancy company and a collective like FikaWorks, in terms of like working for it, but also in terms of like the work you deliver? Let's put it this way.
So there's a lot of differences, of course. First of all, there's 15 people making all the decisions, right? Mm-hmm. Not only one, and so there is much less stress. You have always someone to talk with. You can ask people about their opinions. You can define a strategy or marketing, sales, anything related to running the team, to running the collective. You can discuss with a bunch of people around you. So that's the main difference. When you run your own company on your own, the biggest challenge is lioness. You're the only one person that actually knows all the details around your business, and you're the only one person that is actually capable to make, decisions. And of course, it applies only to small startups, to small teams, right? 5, 10, 15, 20 people. So when you grow bigger, where you scale up to 40, 50, 60, 70 people, then you hire managers, you can organize a board. So it's a much different experience, I believe. But when you're still in the kind of startup stage, it's really hard. Everything is actually on your own, on your head. In case of FikaWorks, we make all the decisions together. We define our strategy together. We define what we want to do, actually, like the podcast together. So it's much different experience, and I think for me this is the most important part. So I don't feel like like a small minion doing all the work. One army man. I feel like a part of a bigger team.
Right. If I may interject, you mentioned loneliness as part of working as a freelancer as well, right?
More like a business owner, but I think that the same issue applies to the freelancers, right? Because when you work remotely, you are completely disconnected from the team.
Right. I haven't had the opportunity yet via Fika, but to do this via FikaWorks, but some of you work on the same project at a customer, right? You have the chance sometimes to pull somebody in from the co-op if the client, of course, needs an extra pair of hands. Does that help with that? Feeling of loneliness in a big company at a big customer?
Yeah, this is also a very valid point, because when you're doing work alone, it's basically you're alone. Yeah, you don't have with who to ping pong ideas. You don't have somebody to rely on some decisions. And we built, and you mentioned you met some of the people during university, and we built during time, and everybody from FikaWorks build a strong network of engineers and a pool of engineers that we know that were good at different stuff, and somehow we met at different jobs, and then people leave, they switch jobs, they switch countries for whatever reasons, and then you still want to work with that person. And I think this is a good opportunity, so we can work together on bigger projects. And I work, for example, with Valentin on four projects till now, on 4 different projects. And I like to work as well on the 5th one, hopefully in the future, and with Sudesh as well, to manage to get a project to work together. And this cannot, or it's very complicated to happen if you're like an internal employee, because people will leave. Yeah, they will have different goals, different ambitions. But here, the way we're structuring our project and our work is basically everybody's independent to choose his own project. And if there's something interesting and they want to pair with some other people, and there's the opportunity, of course, to join another project, then this is a very nice facilitator, so you can work together as a bigger group, which it's hard to do as, for example, as an individual freelancer.
Right.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned working at a as a regular employee, right? Where you obviously you are bound by a contract. If you leave that employer, most often than not, you sign a clause in the contract where it clearly states that you cannot pull your now ex-colleagues to the new to any new employer, right? So this is a kind of good middle ground where you get some of that stability of working with like-minded people, but not being solo all the time in a way, and trying to find new people every 3 or 6 months or a year with every new customer.
Yeah, and I also want to add something to this. So even if we have to work on independent projects, right? So we're not basically on the same project. We have the internal communication tools that we can always reach out to all the members. because maybe you run into something something new, or you have some challenges with the project that you're in, and you can always reach out to the members, because this is what the community driven also means. And you can get answers, you can learn from the experience that others had, and you can basically rely on the community to be able to perform. And this actually enhances the organic growth, because just like neurons, that the ones that fire together, they wire together. So asking questions, getting answers, you start connecting better with the other members, and then whenever you're going to go to get in a project, you collaborate better. You know already what to expect. You know how to communicate. You know the skills of the other, the other person, and I think that helps a lot. That's all that I had to add here.
I have one question concerning very, for me at least, interesting thing. Who is in charge of the whole collective? Is it like that you have a one person and something like CEO, or you share responsibilities? And if you share, how do you that one? How do you share them? Yes, how do you solve the issues on the level of being in charge? Or
Well, I can take this one. Well, we're a very distributed organization, and we don't have managers. There's no management layer. There's no CEO. There's nobody who's there to tell you what to do. But that doesn't mean we're unorganized. So as was mentioned, everybody can pick up a smaller task, some things at which he's better at. And of course, there are some admin overhead we need to take care of to operate smoothly. But the cooperative model relies on members. So that means members, not employees. And members have full rights, equal rights. And so that means for a bigger decision, everybody will get like one vote. And if there's no majority, there will be a majority, and whatever a majority will decide, that will be the direction to go. And this is the way we're actually driving it. And it's different compared to a company where you have somebody who is telling you what you should do. Here is more it's more like a smooth sailing. So it will not we're aiming to have everybody on the same boat, but of course this cannot happen all the time, but majority will decide. So, and we assume it from the beginning that whatever the majority will decide, it will be the direction we're going to go. And for now it worked quite okay.
And the next, thank you. Yeah, sorry.
No, I just wanted to follow up on what you just mentioned. You said, well, I mean, we know that whenever we make a votation, whenever we need to decide on an important task, somehow a majority will come. And also you said that the direction that the majority will decide is the direction that we will take as a collective. So I guess there is a sort of like like you don't just get inside the collective whoever comes, right? I guess you need to find somebody that has the same mindset that you, has the same ideas about the collective, has the same ways of managing clients and relationships and network and so on. So what do you, when a new person comes in and would like, to join the collective, to be part of FikaWorks, how does that work, more or less? And yeah, if somebody else wants to answer, of course, yeah, feel free to just unmute yourself and get an answer.
Aljin, as you're the last one who joined, maybe you can
Yeah, good idea.
explain how you applied. applied.
Yeah, so for me, it's a bit more different because I have worked with most of the people in the past. So that's also how I kind of got into my first freelance job after how do you call it? After stopping at the startup where I used to work at. So that's how I got into that's how I got my freelance gig. And through the freelance gig is how I got in touch with the FikaWorks because I was talking to so one of my connections. He's probably not in here right now. He and Hamish, we were both working at the current client, and I was kind of interested in looking around at how these guys are doing. So FikaWorks, Fika, sorry, is doing things. And how they set up a community and how they deal with how do you call it, questions you might have. So things that you do not get while being at the client because you don't have a community and you don't have like other big consultancies. You don't really have other colleagues to talk to that are part of the consultancy company. And so I was kind of looking around of what exists out there. So in my search, I came across a thing called Midlands, which is a kind of structure where you're part of a company. So uh, you're part of a company and you pay that company, let's say 20% of your uh, freelance rate. And then they do things for you like administrating and I think sometimes they even uh, get how do you call it? They even get like jobs and stuff, clients for you. But I wasn't really interested in this. I was interested in a more kind of free form idea of the way you deal with your freelance buddies. Like you help each other out often, but you don't belong to a certain company. And this is kind of where FikaWorks fills in the gap, where you're still a fully fledged freelancer, but you didn't come across each other because you work together at a certain client. It expands the pool of people you get to know without losing the benefit of being a freelance. And that's kind of I was looking around, and that's kind of the concept that FikaWorks has, and it got me interested and looking at how and what they do at kind of the DNA of the whole collective. And it called to me. It was, you don't lose anything by joining because you don't lose, let's say you don't pay the 20% of your hourly rate, or you lose the benefit of being a freelance. It's just an addition atop of being a freelance, and that's something that you do not really get uh, or easily. It's more like if you see like all these open source how do you call it, all these open source libraries, it's like a lot of people helping each other out, and this is kind of how FikaWorks looks like for me anyways. It's a bunch of freelancers helping each other out and having kind of a small community uh, where you have people to reach out to if you have any questions and all these things.
Maybe if I may add one
Yeah.
small thing, it's important to point out something that you did point out, that Fika can help you out, but not only with the specifics of the job, but specifics of freelancing in general. How do you do insurance? How do you handle, I don't know, what do you do with your retirement, for example? What do you, et cetera, all those things that are, for me, for example, fairly new, because I've been only freelancing for almost a year. So that's very helpful as well.
Yeah, and that's indeed something that I also found very helpful, is that you go based upon like the experience of others. Like often as freelancers, they think about these things, but they keep the knowledge to themselves, and everybody reiterates and reinvestigates everything. So, how do you set up your financing? Do you have an accountant, or do you do it yourself? Do you have a BV in the case of the Netherlands, or are you a freelancer, etc., etc. And it allows you as a member of the collective to choose the path you want to go towards, but it gives you more information as well. You because of this, it gives you the opportunity to make an informed decision. And especially, like you mentioned, I really liked how we could challenge each other on how we do insurances in case we get sick, because as a freelancer, no work means no pay. So you get a lot of people have looked around at insurance policies, and you get to live on each other's kind of what do you call it, research.
I can add a quick addition. So until now, we kind of grew organically, and we were somehow like a close community. But is it something we want to change in the sense that we want to allow as well people which didn't work with me or Algin or Valentin in the past to join? And we're looking into how to actually facilitate that in a way which will allow us still to keep the spirit we have now, and kind of like the same type of vibe without growing exponentially, which we don't have any incentive to do. But it's something we're looking into, actually, our growth model, because we don't really have any financial incentive to grow. So for us, it's more important to have like a group of people which actually are happy together, and there's no friction, and they can help each other. That's more important than the size. And yeah, maybe now somebody can answer as well the Grealish question, which is on the screen.
I can take it. Someone can put the spotlight on me. I don't know how that works. It's magic, probably. But I think it's a good question. But then you also need to think about the DNA of the organization, right? So of course, normally when you would be working for a company, you expect to get some kind of remuneration for the work that you do inside or outside of office hours. But of course, here in Fika, as also was mentioned already before, we do this because we believe that this is something that we want to do, and we believe that this is something that will help us, right? So if someone asks for support, then I want to help him, not because I get some remuneration for that work, but because I believe it is a good thing to. So, and of course, there's also, I guess, some kind of reciprocity there, right? So I need something because I can't I get stuck, right? And I call someone. Then of course it's normal that if someone else gets stuck, that they call me as well, right? So, but I think that if you're part of this organization, that goes without saying. We don't. In that sense, we don't have any kind of formal compensation for time that you invest, but we also don't expect something in return, right? So if I invest time by helping someone out, then I do that because I want to do that, right? And the same the same applies to things we do for the organization itself. Now there are, of course, some people who spend time setting up this podcast, right? Then you can say, well, those guys spend the time to set up this podcast, so that means that other people have to pay them because they invested time, or they have to do something else to also compensate for that, right? But then, of course, you set some kind of expectation. And I think that is also not really in line with the open source ID, right? So you give something, but you don't really expect something in return. So it's, I think that is the philosophy. And I think that is also what we look for when people are joining our community. You're part of our community and part of this organization because you think it adds value for you. And not necessarily because you expect to get something out of it in a way that if you do something for someone else, that they get something from you as well. Except maybe for new opportunities in terms of new engagements with other clients. But I think maybe someone else wants to add something to that.
Yeah, I think that if you start charging people for your time when when answering questions, it's no longer a community. I think it's more like individuals, a bunch of individuals, and the community idea just fades. And I think beyond some the financial aspects of contracting and freelancing, it's also the interaction with your peers, basically. Is that I don't think it's for everyone. I think that in the beginning, especially in the when you're contracting, it's much easier that you're gonna be like lonely wolf, and then you just handle the contract by yourself. You learn a lot of things, but at some point you realize that by contributing to a community, you actually can learn more from them as well. And since time it's fairly limited, you don't have to take in a lot of projects, but you can learn from the others, and can be be kept up to date with what's going on in the industry, and you can learn from them, and you can actually return something to the community. I think this is what matters. That's why I believe it maybe it's not for everyone.
Yeah, looking more from the client perspective, this is something that we actually try to pitch towards our projects, our customers, that when you start working with somebody who's part of this collective, you also have the entire collective behind, and it's try to use it as well as some kind of like selling point. So eventually we can actually charge more for that project, because there are other people which may help with expertise that eventually we don't have, and we try to do it like that. So we didn't push it in a way of like try to upsell that, okay, I'm bringing somebody else for a few hours and he's gonna do this and that and he's an expert. But we're using it more as like, okay, we consulted with some of other colleagues, some of our other members from our community, and this is what people are doing, this is best practice, this is what worked, and we try to bring that expertise as like that into our projects.
Maybe if I may again add one small thing. Usually, when people from the community ask others for help, and from the community, that does not only mean FikaWorks members. We also have a public Slack where people join and ask technical questions. Usually, in this type of position where you work in sort of a DevOps, SRE kind of field, you usually just need a nudge in the right direction, right? So it's never really a lot of time spent helping out somebody. It's a 10-minute chat or something like this, and then that's basically that. And that can help. That can go a long way, essentially, because if you have a lot of experience with a specific type of software, then you can just point that person, yeah, just check this out. And that's I don't know, that's my experience at least.
I can pick up this question. Yes, we have something like this to share the information about possible projects or possible opportunity that's available on the market. So because we all have a connections and we all have information where the work is needed or where someone is needed. So first of all, we share this information with the members. Maybe someone from the FikaWorks would like to change the position or would like to I don't know, go for the longer vacation, and yeah, his or her opportunity is available, or we know from the outside the client is looking for someone. Then we share this project right now on the Slack, only with our members. But then after a while, we release also this information to our community.
I think one thing to add here as well is that as a community, we also hear things from different places, and what we hear, we share. And because we share this, you get a bit more information than other than the clients that you are directly working with. So, for example, in my specific case, I got reached out by some recruiters somewhere. I relate this information to another FikaWorks member. His name was Jason, for example, and it led to a good potential lead for him because he also asked around. So you get these second and third degree kind of job listings, and because we share them in a community. For example, in like one of the channels which we have, you also get much more information from others than you would in your own small networks, unless you go through kind of like recruiters, which comes at a fee. So that's also one of the advantages that I have seen and noticed from being part of the community. Even though I didn't get my current listing through the community itself, I did get it through kind of some community members. So I think that can also be seen as a great advantage when it comes to clients and projects.
It's a very, very, very interesting question. Thanks. Just building up on this question a little bit more, maybe, because I can imagine sometimes you get like a lead or you get like a client you want to work with, and there are multiple maybe freelancers that would like to take that project at the same time. So can maybe like one of you give us like a brief overview? Like I'm a client, I send an email at info@fika.works and ask for like some consulting project, that I need like somebody to take care of a cloud project for me for like 6 months, let's put it this way. What happens after that, like behind the hood, let's put it this way?
I can take this one. Yeah, so we mentioned that we got inspiration from Crisp, that Swedish company, and yeah, they have their DNA, which we're revising, and we basically fork it on how to actually operate. And until now, we kind of like took the decision like it will be more or less like first come first served. And if there are going to be more people, they should discuss it between them on how, if there are 2-3 people interested in a project, which is like one person project, for example, they should discuss between them how to actually handle it and not make it like a big kind of like event in the company. But this is the way we're handling it now, basically.
Is there like a first person that takes this email and says, okay, this is like 6 months project, it needs 1, 2, 3 people that discusses the rate before it goes to the freelancers, or it's something that happens after that?
Yeah, so when we have the leads, they are being shared first with the members, and then the members that are interested and available, and most of the time there are almost nobody available to take new projects. So everybody is busy, which is a good sign. but we have this discussion mainly on Slack, so it's more like people interested will react, and everybody will see who's actually interested, and they can take it from there. More or less.
Yeah, we can also book people, or plan the onboarding a team or a consultant for new projects. Maybe the customer doesn't want to start the project today, and we can plan something for the next couple of months, and we can allocate the resources, and we can. Yeah, I think it's just organic. We agree on what's our availability, when can we start. Some of us can start part-time perhaps, and then move to full-time, and so on and so forth. It's not till now it hasn't been a problem. Yeah.
Somebody else would like to add 2 extra cents? Otherwise, there is also another question from the YouTube live stream that says, how do you keep a focus? Do you have an example to share where you didn't feel comfortable with a lead and decided to say no? That's actually a very interesting question. Yeah. Somebody that hasn't talked yet, maybe, or somebody that hasn't talked too much yet.
Like, I might try at least, because I'm pretty new member here. I believe that there's not something like we don't feel comfortable as a FikaWorks with the lead. If one of us will be interested in taking it, it means that it was made for someone of us, and then it's like we are not saying no. If there is no one interested or there is no one available, we are just posting it on our internal Slack, so FikaWorks community can take it from there.
Okay, so
I think one advantage of the way we work is this fact: everybody is more or less independent and is a small entrepreneur on his own right. So everybody has the freedom of choosing their project, and if they don't feel comfortable, and we had cases like there are project availables and people say, I don't want to work in that industry, or I don't want to do that kind of work. So even if it's a well-paid project, but I don't want to do that. And it's the power everybody has to on his own time, and it's something we don't impose on people. So if I need 1 or 2 more people in my team and I'm not able to get them, I'm not their manager. I cannot force people to work on a project if they don't want to work on the project, and that keeps everybody happy, and we saw that people prefer to do what they like, and as we grow, there's room to do all kind of projects and to work in different combination that will make everybody happy at the end of the day, which is what we should aim for in the end, right?
Indeed. And actually, this leads me exactly to my next question. Like, how do you measure, is the collective succeeding? Is it like maybe there are some troubles inside? How do you measure happiness inside your own company? And hello to Alessandro that is following us from the YouTube live stream. Yeah, I also wanted to mention, if you have any kind of question, please write it down in the YouTube chat. We will try to address them as soon as possible. But yeah, going back to my question would be, how do you measure happiness? How do you measure if people are happy with how the collective is going? How do you measure if people are like happy in the position they're in? Maybe because it could be as some people get like more like difficult clients compared to other, and so on. So yeah, would be interested to understand how can you feel like the status of FikaWorks?
Well, I can try to answer this one. So we do try to sync and to discuss about our projects for the people which are in Netherlands when the government allowed us to meet. We were having like dinners once a month, and we discuss about stuff and okay, how are things going? Are you happy? Are you not happy? You want to switch? And then we have as well the bi-weekly meetings where we also discuss about stuff related to internal projects. And we started, we're also figuring out a lot of stuff, and there are things which we didn't had to consider until now, right? Okay, how to actually get out of a project, for example, or if you look at the DNA from that crisp company, they figure out a lot of stuff, and they're also agile company, so that's what they do, right? They put everything on paper and they have a plan and a roadmap. So we're not there yet. We're also inventing stuff as we go, and we try to keep everybody happy and try to work as a community. We managed to have our first big kind of like hands-on meeting with everybody who was available and allowed to travel in Amsterdam in December, so we can meet each other. We can talk about projects and understand, okay, how is everybody, and if they're happy, if they're not happy, and we try to keep it very casual and open as well, and help each other. And as we was mentioned, we have like a jobs channel where people exchange, like I'm becoming available in this month, in 2-3 months, or I'm looking for people, or I have this lead. It's also a place where people can say I'm trying to switch out of the project and move to I need a new project. I need something new. I'm not learning. I'm not happy there. I'm not progressing, or I want to do something else. And it's also a place where we can kind of like share this kind of thoughts.
See, anybody else would like to add something on this topic?
Yeah, I would like also to add that the culture here is very open, and it's very easy to reach anyone here. There is also a bi-weekly call when you can share your thoughts and talk about ongoing topics. So the culture and the openness, the transparency of the everything here very helps in exchange of these feelings. And it's quite easy to spot if someone is very unhappy.
I see. And this is something that Sudesh was saying before, like remembers a lot like the open source way of organizing things, right? Whenever I try to explain open source outside of like IT, I always get in trouble. It's like, so you download a software that somebody else wrote for free, and then when you find a problem, you fix it for free, and somebody else that you have never met before is going to review your code and do it for free as well. Yeah, that's sort of how it works, right? But for somebody outside the IT field, this doesn't sound very logical sometimes. But yeah, it seems to me like the FikaWorks cooperative works very much like focusing on the open source spirit, keeping everything open, keeping decision open, keeping leads open, and so on, which is great.
Yeah, I would like to add to that actually. So if someone can change the focus to me, look, it's going faster now. Very good. Oh, now it's gone again. Yeah, so you see a lot with other more traditional consulting organizations or organizations that we also deal with as a freelancer, like these, how do you say, recruiter agencies or other consulting companies, that they kind of try to establish their own turf, right? They would say, like you see on LinkedIn, we have had this really cool position available for some large company in finance in this or this region of some country. Right? So they would keep it kind of fake, and then you never really know what's going on. And I think that also creates a kind of an barrier of trust, right? So on the one side, you think, well, I need to do this, right? And that is not only for us as freelancers, but also for any other company who is in consulting, right? You need clients, and you don't have all the connections, right? So you always have to work somehow with other parties to get new engagements. And I think that gives those types of organizations a lot of stress. And what you see is they hire dedicated people to do those kinds of things for them, business development or recruiters maybe. And yeah, even as the people, as of course most of us have been working for consulting organizations also for quite some time, you get kind of sucked into that mode. Like, okay, oh, I need to sell something here, right? And it's a bit unnatural for IT people. We are not salespeople. We like what we do, and that is IT. So, but if you're doing something, and also what Katalin mentioned, and you like to work with people, then that is something natural, right? It's natural to want to work with people with you who you can go well with. It's natural to work with people who you value, from who you can learn something. So in that sense, I think that this way of working makes sense, right? And that is also if we're taking it a little bit in a wider perspective. In the Netherlands, we had this COVID situation starting in May of 2020, and there was a lot of shortage on everything, right? There were not enough hospital beds. There was not enough masks and breathing machines, everything. And what you saw is that even though normally companies have to work in a kind of a capitalistic or way where they buy something and there's a market, and then you buy something from someone else and you negotiate, but because of there was no time, people were dying, people start to really work together in a very different way in that time. And that is, I think, what you can see, what we are doing more naturally. We are collaborating because it helps every one of us, and we don't have to fight with each other to get new opportunities and to find something together. So for me, this really makes sense. So that's what I wanted to add there.
I see. Nice. Thank you very much. Before going to the question on YouTube, I just wanted to link to that. So what Sudesh just said is like, for me, it looks like a research, for something better. Like each one of us looks like making the next step and make our condition a little bit better how it was before. So if we take, the classic career path, the career path that maybe some of you took already, and you start working for a company after university or after college and something like that. After working for a company, you decide that something doesn't work for you, that not enough freedom or something else. You decide to move into freelancing. And after freelancing, after a couple of years, maybe you move and you join a collective like FikaWorks. So maybe some of you has done this kind of path before. Can you maybe summarize a little bit what was the trigger between going from working for a company full time to working freelance, and what was the trigger from working freelance to working in a cooperative like FikaWorks? Or what was like how do you say it, like the final the drop that the vase spilled?
Okay, I think I'm gonna try to answer this question. So I moved from a permanent position to consulting role, and then I tried different setups, working with one of the other Fika members, having a company, and then went back into consulting, went work for a startup, and I think the transition from let's say permanent position to freelancing is you learn a lot and you learn much faster. That's what I learned from this experience, and you get exposed to all sorts of situations. And whenever as an employee, you can just align with the others, and nobody's actually going to point fingers to you. But when you go as a freelancer, as a consultant, you are the most, let's say, knowledgeable person in the room. They look up to you for advice. That's sometimes good, sometimes bad, because sometimes people, are not so fond of having consultants around, because they like the way things work in their organization. Anyways, so moving from freelancing and consulting to at some point, it's the same routine, right? You go to a new customer, they have different problems, you solve them, and you move to the next customer. It's more or less the same. But with moving into the scope with FikaWorks, you actually get to communicate, collaborate with people that do the same thing as you do. Suddenly you're not the most knowledgeable person in the room. You have people that they have better experiences with certain technologies. They have different experience with customers. You get to learn from them, and it's kind of like a relief. Like you don't feel lonely anymore. Okay, so it's actually, you feel good to ask questions and be humble, stay humble, stay foolish, and learn from them. And so you switch position from teaching or learning or consulting people to actually for you to learn. And I think it's a great opportunity to grow as a consultant.
Yeah.
I
would like to add something to that. So growing as a consultant part, I think one of the things of being a freelancer or being in a co-op, it also exposes you to other things in your professional career, like having to look for clients or managing clients, or how do you kind of sell yourself, but in a nice way. How do you convince the client that you are the right person for the job? You get to how do you negotiate the salary and all these things you don't get exposed to when you're how do you call it, a consultant for a company, because that's all being done for you. And that's one of the things here at FikaWorks. It also, they kind of help you along by kind of filtering potential customers out, but you still have to put in the legwork. You still have to pimp up your CV. You still have to kind of go to the interview and talk to the potential client and the customer. So these are all the things that you do not really get exposed to while being in a company, because others do it. And not being the smartest person in the room, it's scary at first, but it is also the only way you are able to grow, because if you're always the smartest person in the room, you will never learn something. You will always be a teacher. Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to kind of add to it as well. Oh yeah, sorry. One more small thing is that uh, you also get the freedom to choose kind of the projects that you want to, and not being forced into a certain project that you don't want. And that's kind of also how my road towards the freelancing part started, is that at some point you disconnect with the company that you're working for, uh, and what do you do? And then you look at kind of alternatives. Do you go towards another company for example, consulting, with the risk of entering the same vicious circle And so it's really something that you need to also consider for yourself. It's what I often say, like compare, try it out. You can, in IT, we don't really have uh, a risk of being jobless because you can just throw your CV out there and you have 20 recruiters mailing you within like a day. So that's one thing I would say. Just try it out. You have nothing to lose. Uh, Try it out. Become a freelancer. Get paid like a freelancer. Join FICA. The works. But yeah, just that's one of the things that I would suggest anybody looking at this podcast.
Nice. Thank you for your contribution. Somebody else would like to add something on this topic? So moving from full-time to freelancing and to joining a collective.
Well, I think I have something to add because, like, Fika gives me the courage because before I was like thinking, yeah, I could do the freelancing. I already have some customers that, yeah, but it's not full time. I'm maybe it is not for me. But I show a bunch of people that are working like that, and this is the full job for them. So, well, hey, let's try it. And people told me, yeah, you can structure your finances like that, and I receive a lot of support from the Fika work at the beginning, which I really appreciate. Um, Basically, without it, without the invitation, of course, to the Fika, I probably would stuck in the current employee because yeah, they were asking me maybe you could learn something new, like you would like to go into the Java, but I was the infrastructure guy because the project ending. But then I realized that the Fika is the place where I can like I can share my knowledge. I can like benefit from it and also share this benefit with others. I don't know if it's too much of good words, but yeah.
No,
Something
it
that
makes actually it makes a lot of sense. I think it's thank you very much. Yeah, let's get to. There are a couple of questions on YouTube, very interesting ones. So one that Piotr asked is, what do you do if you differ when it comes to the future of Fika? How do you define strategy that all is okay with? This is something that we touched a little bit before, saying that decisions are taken like in a democratic way through a votation, basically, and the members that joined the collective are basically all members that have more or less the same view on the future of Fika and that they share this open model and so on. Would you like to add something on top of this?
Yeah, basically for the big decisions, and if you look at big decision like, okay, how do we handle, for example, sales? Do we need an office manager, a virtual office manager, because we don't have an office, but we do have like a preferred office in Amsterdam, a new co-working space for called the Cloud Pirates. We do try to discuss it. So if we treat it like we treat the backlog for a project, and we have like small tasks which don't require a lot of decision, and people can just implement them. And we have like the big things which are kind of like the milestones. Yeah, okay, how on the long term are you going to do sales? What is going to be our focus? Or some crazy idea somebody will introduce, and then if it's something big, we'll take it for discussion, and we really start discussing about it during the bi-weekly meetings. And then, for example, when we had this big meeting with everybody in Amsterdam last December, we also tackled one by one like the big topics. Okay, what's the strategy for the collective? How big do we want to grow? How do we want to handle sales? Do we need an external sales people to sell our skills, or are we going to do it like we do it now, like ad hoc? So we try to handle it as open discussion, and we're putting like the person who's bringing like this, okay, who's proposing something new, to kind of like stand behind the idea and drive it. And yeah, so for example, well, starting a podcast is not like something we need permission from everybody, but it's also like it's a commitment. And then we put some people together interested in a topic, and they come with a proposal, then share it with everybody, and then everybody can join. If it's going to be something like sales, and we say, let's hire a professional sales guy, which will cost us $500,000 per year, or I don't know, something crazy like that. Of course, we need to discuss, and everybody will need to be on board. Otherwise, we don't have an agreement, and it's going to be majority deciding on stuff.
Makes sense. Thank you. There are a couple of more questions. One of them is from Alessandro that says, what's your opinion on tech unions? Open question, to everyone that has an opinion about this. Catalina, I'm not sure if you're speaking, but you're muted. I see you.
No, I was not speaking.
Okay, sorry.
My question
no
is, what is a tech union?
Yeah,
very vague.
I have to say,
put it on the spot.
A tech labor union, but I'm not aware of any, to be honest. So I don't know if Alessandro can maybe elaborate.
It's more common in US. So, for example, people at Google, Microsoft, I don't know, Tesla, they have unions to represent, even if they are like private companies, to represent the workers. Because,
Well, if for Amazon, I can imagine that, but I know that they don't have unions. In Holland we do have the unions, right? And also do, I guess, represent tech somehow, but not in specific. So, but that is of course because in Holland the people in the IT industry are generally already paid a little bit more than people in other industries. So we don't really have this kind of thing in the Netherlands. So I'm a bit, searching for the the meaning of this question. I don't really get it.
Should organize the next podcast episode about tech unions, inviting Alessandro for it.
Well, if I want to, my opinion on this, it's they should be there, and I think especially in Netherlands, we're here in a country where the employees are very well protected, right? So you cannot fire people so quickly, and I think for other countries it's totally different, and there are we're mainly looking at discussing about tech unions, but I think it's more valid for unions for, I don't know, in factories, or like people which are working poor condition or for very low salaries. Also for tech companies and big companies, if they don't get represented well, and somebody needs to fight for them, and it's the best way to actually unite and try to come with a common ground. And I'm all in for these kind of things, and it's for all the kind of like social binding between in big companies, and it's something can actually make people more happy, especially employees, and because the alternative is to leave, right? And if you really like the company and you want to change some stuff and you don't have the power, you can either try to climb to a management role to change, or you can try to unite and put more people which are on the same level with you to raise awareness and improve stuff.
Makes sense. And I mean, also I guess that, being also an open collective, it also, I guess, means that if you're not happy with how the collective is going, if you're not happy about the direction, there's always possibility to leave and not to take part anymore. Makes sense. Another question came up on our YouTube channel is regarding learning and growing, which the collective supports. If someone between projects wants to gain various cloud certification, for example, operationally, is the collective set up to fund that learning? Or
So
would it be
I
like
can
still
pick up
personal
this
experience?
one.
Mhm.
So first of all, you have to understand that the Fika does not have any financial benefits in any of like if you are on the project, the Fika does not have any financial benefits of you putting on the project. So if you would like to take a break and pass some exams, you have to take the break from your project and yeah, like take a time to learn and pass this exam. So there's no support like from Fika for the members.
I think one
We
thing to
agree
add
on this, but
think one thing to add here as well is that it's a collaboration between people. So it's not that you are an employee of Fika, but you are your own kind of person, freelancer, company, whatever you want to name yourself, but that you are also responsible for that part of yourself. So it's FikaWorks, or from what I am understanding as well, it's kind of a helping hand and the community rather than an employer and something to kind of leverage or live on. So indeed, if you want to take up time to get your certifications as you are working at a client yourself and you're not working as a representative of or an employee of FikaWorks, it is also up to you to kind of take that time off and get your certifications.
Yeah, I would like to add something to that. So I was a bit surprised. Also, I was a bit confused by this question, but now that you explain it, I understand it from the perspective of an employee, indeed. So because Grelis is talking about funding, right? And indeed, if you are an employee in a company, then that company is paying this certification or this education for you. But of course, they are not paying for this. You are paying for it yourself because you work for them. You make them money, and because you make them money, they have a kind of part of that money goes to their pockets, and part of that money goes to you, and part of that money they will reserve so that you can get this kind of training or this certification that you want to do. But if you're a freelancer, then all the money goes to your own pocket, right? So it doesn't really make sense that then we would take out as FICA, as an organization, then again say, well, you know what, we will take some of that money out again and put it in a potje. We say in Holland, it's like a fund where you can then take it out again. No, you are already a freelancer, so you already have the financial means to do the things that you want to do and spend that money how you see it best spent, right? So that is the first part about the funding. But then, of course, there is also another aspect to that. So it's not only about funding, because I think if you're a freelancer, that's covered. But what is still there is, of course, knowledge sharing, right? So, of course, certifications are very important. The world is changing very fast, especially in IT, and even more so in cloud. But I see that this is also where we look at. So you need to have, of course, that flexibility in learning and also that mindset for yourself to keep developing yourself somehow, right? So, and that's different for everyone. So for me, that is, I have a client, but I work 4 days in the week. And the fifth day I spend on studying for certification. Sometimes I do something in the weekend, sometimes in the evening. And every couple of months I will try to take one certification just to keep up to date. But it's really up to you to decide how you fill that in, because you're self-employed, as we are in this case. But that doesn't take away that we could actually be benefiting from each other's knowledge more, right? Because of course, for me, I'm very good in Azure. I'm an Azure certified cloud architect, blah blah blah. and someone else would be very good in AWS, right? So it would make sense, of course, to also do these kinds of things together. But currently, that is not really the case. So we don't really have those kinds of efforts yet. But I do think that is something interesting we could work on in the future if we have more interests within the collective or in the community.
Makes sense. I mean, at the end of the day, as you were saying, you're just like many individuals working together as a collective and as a community. So you might also have certain individuals that really would like to, get a lot of certification. Others that maybe don't care about certification. Sorry. So it can be tricky to build a framework that works for everyone. But yeah, thank you very much, Sadesh. So we are about to hit the 1 hour and a half mark, and at this point we're like doing going towards the end of this first episode of the podcast. And I would like to ask one final question, and I would really appreciate like if each one of you could give like a brief answer. And the question is, what did the FikaWorks cooperative bring to your personal and professional life? So if you could say just one thing that the FikaWorks Collective brought to your personal and professional life, that would be great. Yeah. Can start from the top, maybe Katalin?
Sure. Yeah. Professionally, I now present myself as part of the FikaWorks Collective. So it's I'm putting my name behind, and I have the name of this collective as a front runner for me, and it's important. And personally, it's switching from solo freelancing to this setup. It's basically I have a team I can rely on, so that's it's very important for me.
Can go next. Yeah, cool. So I think for me it was a great opportunity to be able to work again with people that I worked in the past, and I had a good working relationship and very professional. And otherwise, I don't think I would have had the chance to do so. And thanks to Catherine and the other founding members, it made it possible. So I think it brings a lot more confidence, and it feels much better to be able to work with the people that you worked in the past, and you speak basically the same language. And I think it's a human thing that it's good to be part of the community. Yep.
I can be the next one. So as I said, from professional and personal life, it gave me courage to do to set up and do the freelancing properly with the whole legacy perspective, legal perspective. So I think courage is the thing here for me.
Okay, I can go next. So for me personally, I think it's the sense of belonging to a group of like-minded people and the real experts. Because and that is something where I feel very differently about with Fika than any other organization I've worked with before, because there were many small and big companies, and also consulting companies, and every company will tell you the same, right? We are the best, we are doing this, we are the experts, and blah 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 blah. But then of course when you start there and you're sitting there for a while, and then you understand that okay, maybe that is not really the case, right? Or maybe it's also something personal, right? Maybe that's just not the case for me being there, right? So it's about finding your spot. right? And for me, with Fika, I really do feel that I did find that personally. And professionally, it also gives me the opportunity. This the way that this organization is set up, right? You can. You can craft it in the way that you would like to do, right? So it doesn't expect anything from you, and you can put in something that you want to give back, or what you think is valuable. So for me, that is the opportunity to learn something actually not inside out IT, but outside of IT. So how does it work in an organization, right? And how do you set up different types of communication? How do you engage with an audience? How do you work on attracting new business, and think about those kinds of things, and not only about working in your field of knowledge. So yeah, that's from my side.
Okay, I guess I'll go last. For me, what it brought to me personally, think the opportunity to see people in the same field once again, like this whole COVID thing, and like no meetups, no nothing. It removes kind of the sense of community and yeah, sense of seeing people, I guess. Professionally, what it brought to me was you can leverage each other's knowledge, each other's connections, each other's what do I call it, projects, etc., to kind of boost yourself while giving back to the community. So, let's say today I take a job or a contract from someone who posted it, and tomorrow I might give two back, for example. And that's one of the things that uh, helps us grow as a community because we are helping each other and not personally, or well, we are personally kind of semi benefiting, but it's not that the cooperative expects these things from you. It's kind of a give and receive kind of way of working, and each person needs to kind of embrace that as well. It's like an open source. It's not like you have to only take, but at some point you also have to give back a little bit. And that's one thing that I think the people who are currently in the community tend to do a lot, which is nice.
Thanks everyone for your answer. It's really interesting. Everyone like sees it from a different perspective, but still, it's very coordinated. Yeah, 1 hour 33. Wow, we made it. We made it, folks. It was a very nice first episode. I think a lot of questions have been answered, and I think everybody that has followed this first podcast live on YouTube had the opportunity to get to ask their own questions and to get to know FikaWorks a bit better. So maybe what about the next episode? What are the plans for the podcast? How are we going to continue doing this? Do you have any little spoiler for us, Katalin?
Well, yeah, we do have a backlog of a lot of technical kind of like subjects we want to tackle, and not sure of the frequency yet, but for sure we're gonna have something new coming your way. And we want to do as well, if there's interest and if people can react to this podcast, if there is interest towards more specific topics on deep diving into like the freelancer life, like getting projects, or like how to interact with recruiters, or how to negotiate rates, or more specific stuff where we can kind of like help or have an open discussion, we're gonna do it as well. And we want to make it an open podium for everybody who is part of the community to come as well and interact and come with ideas and create their own episodes, basically based on their interests. And that's it. Let's see how it will roll out.
Fantastic. Then, yeah, thank you to all of you for participating in this podcast. Thank you for, everybody that is watching live on YouTube right now. Feels unreal, right? as a first episode, it says we are 14 people right now watching. It's impressive. And if there is nothing more, I think thank you very much for being here with us tonight. It was my pleasure, and I'm sure all the other people here with me share that pleasure. And see you in the next episode of the FikaWorks podcast. And thank you very much to Piotr, which has been the backstage for us, like playing with all the StreamYard settings. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot, Andrea. Thanks a lot, Peter.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Ciao.